Okay. So evaluating partnerships, it's kind of as well your assignment part number one. You may remember there were two parts, and this seminar kind of give you as well a little bit the background talk by just going through examples and how a good example may look like, and what can slip easily. So I will record that too. Nobody's left out. So in other words, if your assignment part number one is carry out a critical analysis of the Coventry City Council case study by evaluating the key strategies adopted by the partners, collaborators, and by analyzing the development of the alliance over time by applying relevant theme series and concept studies or studied in the module. And in particular, draw on conclusions from your analysis and develop an evaluation of the success or failure of the alliance by applying an evaluation model. So we will have to kind of come up from the literature and maybe perspectives that you have evaluated with a model that you use to actually arrive at your choices. Yeah. So a lot to take in. Let's break it down a little bit further. So why actually evaluate partnership in the first place? It all these wonderful concepts. You have now kind of a feeling for it. Yeah? So why not maybe play it by emotions, which you may do in a strategic setting, as some of you may have experienced yesterday, as some of you may experience next year. Yeah? So that is actually an interesting question that we look at in detail. And what is a successful partnership? And how can it be measured? That is always a tricky one. Yeah? So often we do wonderful things because it's quite easy of measuring attendance and physical stuff that gets used for time where you rent it out. Actually, normally you just measure really when you have given it to the person and when it returns. You normally don't really measure how long you have really used it. That is kind of tricky, you know, like that is actually quite hard often. Yeah? Then you have introduced as well some partnership evaluation approaches, some that are very meaningful for our assessment, some that are more meaningful probably when you are actually out in the world as a practitioner and you face different partnership types. So that is what we want to cover today. Now, benefits of evaluation is often kind of neglected. So I myself have been given projects where they just said like, this is a great project. And I, as a trusted person, took it on and said like, wow, there's so many benefits to come. But actually, when I saw like the resources, time, and everything that was in it, I had an emotion of overwhelmedness and wanted to call in sick straight away or move on to the next project. Yeah, so there's a health warning here somewhere implicit. Yeah. And then there's the evaluation as well as an important part of the partnership and interagency working. So it shows as well what you're actually in for. So what is actually happening, what is going right, what is going wrong. This is what you can use it for later on. Yeah. So if you do it up front, you have a tool that you can use for evaluation of where you are, if you are actually on track. And another good thing for motivation of the team, you can tick things off as achievement and celebrate them as you go along. Like, yeah, well done. We have kind of established a good working relationship. Yeah, and we know who we have to talk to. Next stage, do you actually talk? Maybe not so much, but hey, we know at least who we should talk to, which is a pretty good start normally. Yeah. So not saying that it's not good if you're communicating that, but yeah, you get the idea. Further benefits of evaluation is ideally evaluation needs to be considered at the beginning of the partnership. This is kind of the point. So there's often not yet full information there. So be aware, yeah, this is a starting point, and that needs to develop, of course. And in the past, this has not been the case, and evaluation has often been an afterthought, or when things started going wrong. Yeah, so this is another point normally when you realize, oh, we need an evaluation maybe. Like they don't really do what I expected them to do. It's the old chestnut with the hot soup. You remember this story with the communication? No? Okay. Communication normally starts considering things like that when things go wrong. Yeah. So and that is often kind of where you grind already on trust, yeah, on resources that should be kind of there from the beginning. Now, An effective evaluation strategy is, so this is kind of the round table idea that everybody is involved, yeah. So this is quite good. So why you want to evaluate actually? So you have as well an aim to actually focus on what you are evaluating against. Yeah. So who wants to be evaluation? Who wants the evaluation to be done? Is it just as top level, or is it function as well at team level, at your project level? Do you know who you're actually collaborating with? Do your team actually have matched people that they can communicate with on their particular maybe problems, issues where the collaboration needs to happen? Yeah. And then when the evaluation will be done is as well a critical point. So there seems to be often this top level evaluation, and then it's kind of like, yeah, once we get started and do the project, then we start evaluating on the operational side or on the project level. And this often then just doesn't get done because people just try to make it work, which can create then all the wonderful examples that we had in previous session of knowledge leakage or people being frustrated with the interface. Yeah. Now, an effective evaluation strategy focuses what the evaluation will look at, what the question will be asked, what questions will be asked, what information data will be collected, and what criteria and indicators will be used. Now, this was as well a little bit what we discussed in building a relationship and negotiating. Yeah, so make sure that your factors that are important for you are as well basically captured, that it's not one-sided. The worst thing, and I've seen that many times, is, oh, we have worked on a project like this before, we still have this contract. Yeah, and actually that was a lie, it's normally a little trolley that comes in. But yeah, and the picture is still this big book. And then like, oh yeah, I think we can adopt that mostly. Yeah, and in reality that is a bad idea. You may want to have your own indicators. You can look through it, yeah, if they're addressed, and you may find indicators that you haven't looked for in the past. Yeah, it's nice for learning, but don't just sign it. This is a bad idea. And then as well, how the information will be collected and who is accountable for this. Yeah? So this works both sides. You know, like workers may not want to talk about it because they find it very dear. You may have an inventor or maker is a new term that is actually quite out of vogue in companies. And you have makers and the designer and actually doing this stuff. So agile organizations have new terminologies there. And you will see that they are kind of like very protective of this. No, this is my invention. Why do you want to know how it runs? So there are a lot of contention points with that, and this needs kind of establishing the relationship. Yeah. Now here is kind of the model that is suggested actually by the book that I kind of referred to on the previous slides. So you should have a clear purpose. Why are you evaluating? Who wants to know? Then you should have as well, and this of course informs as well, respectively, methods. How should you collect and analyze the information? Resources, what money, people, data do you have available? Again, extremely simplified. Yeah? You may want to do that more diligently. But those are the categories. And then the evaluation questions. What specific questions do you want to answer? So is it maybe a capacity building exercise, yeah? Or is it to get into a new market? Currently, you may have noticed that there's a strange sport going on where people drive in a car pretty accelerated in a circle for no obvious reason, it's called Formula One, yeah, and you will see that there's a wonderful new partnership which has broken the hearts of American and German viewers. It used to be McLaren, Mercedes, yeah. But now you will notice that there's McLaren Honda, and it has a lot to do with Honda being at the moment going for, they try to establish themselves stronger in Europe, and this is the intent from them, and they're very curious, of course, over market share, and they're willing to share from their side their understanding of engines, and they're very good at engines and automotive area, and that is where the capacity kind of that they have developed over years is very attractive to a lot of European businesses. And McLaren is one that went for such a partnership, working closely together with Honda, and they are quite curious about that. Yeah? So there's a question. Yeah? What is actually specific? What questions do you think they are after? Yeah? So you see already in the setup that it goes probably in one direction there for one party and in another for the other party. Yeah, again, a little bit more sales to the importance of evaluating. It's really as well kind of an awareness exercise. Yeah? It's not so much only evaluating the other party. It's as well kind of becoming conscious. Why am I actually in this partnership? Yeah, does that make sense? So it's actually to learn about how to work in partnership, and it's as well self-awareness on our side, but as well awareness about partner's side. Yeah. And this is often very powerful. So sometimes companies are as well surprised about that. Beautiful example that I was quite fascinated in because a colleague works on it. There's a cycle producer manufacturer, and there was a British company that wanted to it's racing bikes, so road bikes and mountain bikes as well. And they thought it's a bike manufacturer, but they hadn't actually listened to what the German manufacturer actually was. They were a technology and innovation company. So they were quite happy to go in frames in other industries, while that kind of endangered the partnership. They wanted a partnership with Crompton, which is renowned for affordable bikes, and they wanted to design city bikes. But of course, with a technology company, they are very quick as well, adapting their own foldable bike, taking apart bike. Now this is of course a direct threat to the partnership. So for Crompton, that was very allergic, and they don't have the same ethos. So the German guys kind of embrace technology heavily, hence technology company, and Crompton is all about handcraft. They are very good in quality finishing. It's very unlikely that the frame explodes under you whilst you cycle. Whilst in the German company, well, they try new materials. Occasionally that can happen, yeah. But again, like they have the specs and the new innovation. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, it's as well then a very useful tool to measure progress against objectives, and of course improving management processes and procedures. So it's as well building the relationship. Yeah. So another example for that is the dual award with Chalmers. Chalmers is as well a huge Swedish university, and I'm going there. There's a strategy behind sending me. It's not the obvious choice. Normally you would send the director, but I know the colleagues. I do research with them, and they kind of like me, and so it's a good idea to send me. And then I have all the strategic questions as well after the lectures over lunch or dinner. Like, oh, by the way, we have noticed here the Swedish government is changing their regulations. Do you think that you are in favor of this, or should we maybe push a little bit and lobby that? Yeah. So there are questions like that. Yeah. And that is an.
I'm just curious about talking about evaluating the partnership. There's nothing in there about understanding the other partner's core competencies and that sort of thing.
This is a breakdown. We come to that. We are still kind of at the top level, the next week. So we become actually. I mean, you get here an idea already. Like it has to do really with the specifics as well, breaking it down, looking at what you're actually aiming for, project management methods, the plan itself, maybe survey. Logs, monitoring, so communication has to be aligned, and as well the stakeholders are an important element of that. But you are right, we actually have to look a little bit closer. So it's as well to get a feedback mechanism. I had that already. So seeing what has been achieved, both intentional and unintentional outcomes, and improving effectiveness of partnership. Actually, I think I have that in the next section where I really unfold it into a framework. So with this comes as well sharing experiences, often with other partnerships, identifying good practice in areas such as promoting community involvements, for example. So it's about impact versus outcomes, change, where you get a little bit the idea by the word cloud. And to work out, of course, cost effectiveness and value for money. And be careful again. Yeah? When I say cost effectiveness, Honda and McLaren are not cost effective at the moment. You can probably witness it live if you want to see, like, I think it's 20 men, right, in cars, like racing in a circuit. If you want to witness this, you will see they are very famous companies, but they are not really on the front. Yeah, it's so, and this means often that they are slightly behind with their performance against the other ones. So that means normally as well that they haven't yet figured out how to do it cost effective. So, and of course with this comes as well, you identify the strengths and weaknesses. So this may be capacity and competencies, and to report to partners, local people, regional and national governments as well. So that is another reason. Companies like Honda, they don't just come to the UK, they get often as well invited. There's often an incentive for them to come, and that is kind of at national level agreed, where you ask a multinational, hey, why don't you use the UK for expanding in the European market? Instead, the obvious choice, Romania. Or something like that. I don't know. I just made the country up. No way, Romania exists, but I just made that up as one of the countries. So if you look at that in a more broken down way, you will see there's a formative element. So this is a type of development evaluation that feeds information and guidance back into the intervention so that improvements can be made. Then you have as well a process focus. Here the aim of this type of evaluation is to find out exactly how an intervention works. And then you have an outcome focused evaluation. So this is a type of evaluation focusing on the final results of the intervention. Here a typical question for an outcome evaluation to address would be whether the intervention has made significant improvement in the client's life. So you try maybe to collaborate so McLaren and Honda wants to build you the perfect sports car, that gets you from here to where you want to be. Something like that. Now, if you look at the effectiveness, and here we kind of come already to where your question was going, you have like this is a model basically, effectiveness of partnership, and that was kind of I think it's the OCG that actually published this. So it's important at 3 levels. I have it as well in the references, so don't panic. It's inputs, how. So here you often have like the categories of cash, time, in kind. What was that again? Just read that earlier. We'll come to that in a second. Management costs.
Like a benefit income.
Yeah, so it's well, I think it was actually the competencies and capacity that you bring into the partnership. But there's a defined notion, and I have it later in the slides. It just escaped me already. But yeah, it goes there. Yeah. Then you have the why, charitable gifts, community investment, commercial initiative, maybe it's as well product development, or you are curious about design, you want to maybe create even a new market. Then what is it? Cause, e.g. health of people, and then where, location, where you may want to actually set it up. But this is kind of very brief. So as well with cause, things like that. In other models you will have as well context and environment as an additional one, and maybe even a time frame when. So some partnerships are not yet ready to be faced by us, as a customer and consumers. Then you have the outputs. Here you have community benefits, numbers help. So again, the easy stuff. You know how many people there are, so hence you can count them. But you may want to go deeper with this and really kind of have like sophisticated measurement tools. Then as well the leverage, extra funds may be raised, or popularity. You have stronger buy-in in your partnership or the product you're trying. You thought of developing like a beautiful maybe waste plant, therefore for a locality, and suddenly the whole region is interested. The councils are phoning up, and other companies like, oh, we have trucks. We want to work with you too, and that becomes massive, and mushrooms. Then business benefits here, employee engagement and press coverage, I think the example really goes here around like a public project, to be honest, because the terminology is very much tailored towards it. So in other partnerships, commercial, you may have other indicators, but it's a good starting point. And then the impacts, community impacts, how beneficial are they better off? So this in private partnerships, those may be the stakeholder and shareholders, yeah? And then business and customers, of course. And business impact may be how the company is better off. Yeah? So and with those kind of questions here, you have a very good starting point. Now there's a problem with evaluation, and it's a big one, as you can see. Yeah, it's a very, very big problem. It's shaky and it's very hard. Anyway, and it's a qualitative problem for which you need to quantitative measures. So in other words, you have to kind of decide what areas you're looking for, and then you have to find ways of measuring it. You know, in a way, you do this here with us, so you're well informed. Research methods, yeah, it's all about quality and then quantity as well. So you know that you can even measure emotions. Yeah, there is this is an insightful thing, and there's a wonderful joke to it too. But there is, for example, a pain scale, yeah, from 1 to 10 to measure physically the pain. So you don't ask them, but instead you put a chart next to the face, and this is, by the way, used in hospitals, yeah, to assess the agony, pain, like beyond human imagination. And the interesting thing is the scientists behind it that actually invented it as a measure. So it's 1 to 10, and they just experimented to 4. At that point, they were like, no, okay, maybe we like make it the questionnaire with other people and don't do self-experiments. So at 4, they were kind of out of the game, which is interesting. It gives you an idea about the measurement. Yeah. So, but the point here being, there are many ways of measuring, except like just counting money, yeah, or returns. So we have as well soft measures now, like sustainable-driven ones, which can be as well translated into monetary value. But it's important to think about it. Yeah. So maybe it is as well happiness, like thumbs up or thumbs down. So we know that maybe from some platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn, you know, they use already soft measures, and they're a good indication. Now these help you then how you want to determine that it is functioning, yeah, and working as well. So you may have even open feedback mechanism, and how do you measure how well it is functioning? That's another one. And last but not least, how do you actually assess the added value? And that gets kind of very blurry. So normally, like return on investment is still quite easy. So you look kind of before in your account, yeah, you give the money back, and then wait what comes back, yeah, and that is kind of, I mean, you see already the dilemma. There's a time implication. Yeah, when do you actually measure it? But luckily, we have sequenced it through the banking and finance sector, so we normally do it quarterly. If you're an ambiguous shareholder companies, if you have like a very big company, you may do that daily. Yeah, and there's a stock market, so they trade actually kind of for 8 hours. If you're very big, you go 24/7. Now that is very intense, and it creates a lot of ambiguity. Yeah. Especially if you start accounting for stuff that you actually get in later, where you already know you have sold it, but which shouldn't be accounted. See Tesco at the moment, they had a tough time with that. Yeah. Now problems with evaluation, well, need to assess opportunity costs are as well kind of ignored in this. You know, it's kind of a planned approach, and you may actually have additional gains that you didn't account for. So you can of course include those, but it unfolds as well kind of the evaluation. So if you include them and don't see them as additional benefits, it looks at the ends as you have just failed and, you know, kind of hit expectations on a few. So this can backfire as well. Impact of partnership activities on the individual bodies. Then areas of synergy. Again, this is a typical. We have to look actually what that means, and what are the extra areas of achievement. That is often quite difficult, especially if you don't measure for something. Now a controversial one: the health sector, for example, does not actually measure how you are healing. Now that may look counterintuitive, but it's actually very difficult to measure if you are healing and what the impact of the health sector was. So they're just measuring actually how they reduce your pain and make you functional. So you are actually kind of again back up, and you can leave the hospital. So that is again easy to measure because you can count it. He left the hospital. He didn't make it very far. He's back in the hospital. So no, okay, that is when, but still, you get the idea. So it's easier to measure. So healing is actually quite complicated, and it's even individual to each body. Yeah, so that is actually extremely problematic. So yeah, there's a big chestnut, but it's in all industry. It's not just health sector. Yeah. So what can we actually focus on? Well, there's a quantity, as I just pointed out, easy to count. Okay, leaves the hospital. Oh, and back again. Okay. So quantity, yeah, in and out. Outputs such as rate that crime. Beautiful examples here. That crime figures have gone up or down. Yeah. So you may want to correlate it. So you put a lot of. Now this can work either side. So in Johannesburg, to prevent crime was quite frankly to make the infrastructure higher walls with like incredible fences that I mean if like a thing would fly up in the fence, you would not attempt of trying to get that back. You would just write it off. I had my plastic bag with my CD, and there was a strong blow and that hing in this fence, and I was like, just buy a new one. It's not worth it. It's too dangerous. I may get killed by trying to get it back. Yeah. So there's that side, but you can of course as well create open spaces where there's a feeling of community. Where you have a plaza, everybody knows each other. Crime goes down too. Yeah. You don't want it that way anyway. So different solutions. Yeah. But it's countable. Yeah. Or you change the law. It's not the crime anymore. Yeah. This is why a good strategy. Well, I'm joking here. This was not a good strategy. But okay. Then you have the quality outcomes such as reducing the fear of crime and improving the quality of life for residents. So this was actually playing this further on. And then processes, management systems such as project appraisal and development systems or partnership working. So processes, for example, as well, getting crime rates down is introducing people to each other. It's a chestnut that I just pointed out. So having communal events, and then you may actually avoid that there's a strangeness and people understand each other's position. Yeah? And don't see it just as an item walking from A to B that has nice stuff that you fancy more, and they don't seem to evaluate it enough. So yeah, then there's that perspective. Yeah. Okay. Now with this we come kind of different partnerships assessment. How can we do it up? How can we actually do the evaluation? So you need to decide as well a little bit where the focus lies. And as I pointed out, often there's a more strategic focus, which means that when it comes to the operationalization, we have like basically the classic patents are being copied from the partner, and it's like terrible, yeah. Because you have the partnership, well, it's your patent too, so why not? But it's of course toxic for the relationship. So one way of dealing with that is bottom up. That is probably the most authentic one, where you kind of really get to know each other. It's evaluation that can highlight to the service users, residents, or the public how the partnership has impacted upon them. So particularly for the council project that you have, this is very powerful. In companies, that often means that you have like a workshop where you really bring departments or the team interfaces together, yeah, that they can see how they are producing their parts, they explain their processes, and they look where the critical interfaces are, where they actually have to collaborate. But at the same time, that is perceived often very worryingly, especially when you have large companies that try to optimize as well their returns, and there's a huge influence as well from culture. So actually Japanese companies in the past were renowned for being very trusting, and really once you're in a partnership, you are in a partnership. Like they will not deceive you. But more recently, they have partnered a lot with American company, which has made it a hybrid culture for some companies, and they are very aggressive. So they take what you have, and then they're off like, goodbye, I have now everything I need, yeah. And that is of course frightening, because the cultural theorems that people were used to are broken basically, yeah. I mean, it's not as simple as I've described it, but there's a trend emerging basically in literature. Yeah? In reality, and captured in literature, I should say. Yeah. Then we have as well the top-down evaluation. So here you can convince funders, sponsors, such as local or central government, that targets are being met. Has as well to do with lobbying, kind of lobbying for the importance of this partnership, yeah, and the benefits it can generate, and being there then as well when it comes to the decision making, of course. And yeah, getting funders on board, telling them what this will bring to them, and the returns. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what does a successful partnership actually look like? So I have the golden. Oh no! Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have actually 6 features of successful partnership, and so partner and the ship. Okay, I don't get that. But needs to be recognition and acceptance of the need for partnership approach, of course. Yeah, so it's not so good. Should we talk about current examples? So one of my research projects that at the moment only my poor MSc student is researching. I was really supposed to work with him there too. But anyway, he's doing a great job. Is focusing on a partnership somewhere regional. Yeah, we keep it anonymously. We will make it a little bit more exact of a police working together with new information technology companies, and they try to find a smarter way of capturing information, aligning services. And here's a big thing that I thought, like, wow, they have really understood it. Make sure the privacy of the citizens is secure. Can you imagine that? Now, I was really impressed with that. Great project. I was like, okay, we can research with you. Now, they have started that. The police interpreted that. We will have a building that will be partly funded by the IT companies we're working with. So there's like the famous ones. It's kind of SAPs that's in it, or SAP as the locals call it in the police station. Yeah, and so they're kind of funding the building partly. Yeah? And of course this was super for the council. They were like, yeah, it's super money and big company. This will be great. But at the same time, kind of this whole citizen motif sits not well with the police. They kind of want to protect the data. So they see a huge benefit in kind of making it accessible to other police stations as well, which kind of conflicts the objectives why actually 2 other partners came into this partnership agreement. And now they have started the building, so the police is happy, and yeah, they haven't got like really any. The other 2 partners don't really have leverage anymore, and it has become very polarized. So this is particularly bad, but interesting at the same time. So they didn't really buy into the partnership aspect, in other words. Yeah. Then development of clarity and realism of the purpose. So again, this was not achieved in that example. Yeah, wonderful. Ensure there is a commitment and ownership. And I suppose there was as well, if you're interested in particular at the council example that we have as a case study, a very good chapter to read is from Hansen and Hardy, Partnership, New Labor and the Governance of Welfare. So you may see that the Coventry Council has as well similar political setup at the beginning, and that in this case study there may be as well hidden intentions, which may link to something like that. And then as well, you have the develop and maintain the trust. Yeah, who knows who those people are? Who said? It's counter to my previous example. It's not a famous Formula 1 driver. Has anybody heard of Apple?
Steve Jobs, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, young Steve Jobs.
Yeah. And who said? Oh. Okay. Have a look, Microsoft. All I'm saying, yeah. There's a clue, yeah. Okay, but they started off as well with a super partnership. Had a lot of government funding to actually kind of develop computers into the mainstream, that everybody could have a computer. and then it turned very quickly sideways. I mean, another face that could have been here as well in the background could have been Bill Gates. He was actually as well at the time in that company that kind of attracted the government funding from Silicon Valley, from California really. And of course, they ran off with all the ideas because they were not patented. They were like, ha, now I do my own thing. I didn't really like working with you. So there was kind of this learning time where it was safe to kind of play it together. And then once they saw the commercial aspirations, it divided very quickly. And there was a lot of fighting between the three of them. So create a clear and robust partnership working with working arrangements, and the ability, of course, to monitor and measure as well and learn. But as well, kind of securing yourself that everybody runs off. I mean, if a relationship doesn't work, then separate it. But you should do so in a decent way. That nobody comes out like, I mean, you come out like slightly sad, emotionally, but it shouldn't be that one is ripped off and well, everybody else is ripped off except one that runs away with everything. So this is not the idea. So evaluation models are normally quite simple. So you have kind of the inputs, process, and the product, and it sits within a context. This is very important. So actually taken out of context, a lot of input, process, and output evaluation make no sense. But to break that down in a little bit more a life cycle model that is often suggested here, you can kind of actually in the slides I've as well uploaded them. I have notes where this is coming from as well, because I've noticed, or Alex noticed last year, that a lot of students use that for revising. And we noticed as well that the input and output model were too abstract. So we have a little bit literature where you can see examples how they've unfolded it. So it's under the slides in the notes on the PowerPoint. So the life cycle model is very partner life cycle model starts kind of partner quality. Well, first of all, partner the opportunity identification. Then you have the partner qualification. That doesn't mean they have to have a MSc in project management, but I personally would favor that. There's no doubt. But it's more like looking at the criteria you're looking for. Do they complement? Sometimes they can't do it fully, but you have another one that can, so then it's a bigger partnership. But more stakeholders means as well, or more partners means as well, you have to kind of find a way that it works for all. Then you have the alliance formation and planning, and then you have the negotiation agreement and implementation and management, and then the transition again. Do you want to carry on, or is that like achieved? So one approach to establishing the role of evaluating of partnership is this life cycle model, and it's a pretty good one. Now, if you actually look into the refinement of that, it's helpful to think of partnerships going through a series of stages during which particular tactics are most appropriate to ensure partnership progress and success. So here you have the entering of the partnership, and it's a little bit like a relationship, even in human terms. You have the first stage, finding and matching the right combination of partners for what you're trying to do. And you know, there are as well partners that are probably good, but maybe no, I shouldn't play with the analogy, that goes probably the wrong way. But there may be some partners that need to be in a partnership to be profitable. So there's as well a hidden dimension to that. Then there's the managing of the partnership. The next stage involves ongoing management of partnership relationship, and we had those in the past two sessions. And then we have the exiting of the partnership. Now here I wouldn't like to think that it's a human relationship, because we stay, of course, partners in one way or the other for life. Oh, okay, I'm pushing it here. But here again, it's a final stage, and here you want to make sure that you kind of withdraw the assets and resources as well, so they're meaningful to the partners. Now there's a wonderful analogy for this. So this comes really just from the image search. But it's a little bit like team building. Some of you may be familiar with it. It looks a little bit like Tuchman's and Sallyford's model with storming, forming, norming, and so forth. But this is actually not what it is. This is actually the partnership of a life cycle. But we have similar dynamics. So you have the forming stage, and here this is kind of. So this is the life cycle. But normally this is the emotions or how people are willing to cooperate, collaborate. So here very much up like, let's do this together, and here it's like, do we really have to do something with them? It's so sunny, I wanted to go play tennis, and now we have to meet. Oh, terrible. So no, that's not that drastic, but it gives you an idea. Yeah. So you have the forming. This is what does forming mean? What do you think that is? Okay. Yeah.
It's just the coming together of the partners, isn't it?
Yeah, creating the organization, seeing that you have all kind of organizational roles filled, and really finding a vehicle to deliver what your partnership is after. Then there may be a frustration, particular once you become more aware. So there's often a bias to overemphasizing the benefits from it. Optimism biases, if you're interested in particular literature. So they think they get a lot out, and then it becomes actually apparent that they get it out, but it was as well a particular perspective of interpreting it that way. So reality may not look that shiny. So there's a frustration and a danger of failing. But then once you actually look at it, you realize, actually, you know what, this is actually not a problem, it's still functioning. So this is often on a high. And then stage 4, this is my favorite one, it's flying. When you absolutely, when the partnership works and you really generate like greater benefits than you ever dreamt of achieving at the beginning. So this can happen too. Look at Apple, they have now really kind of spun off. They just wanted a small computer that is user-friendly in everybody's home. Now they have everything, like mobile, soon cars, that's crazy. And then again, in the flying stage, it can fail as well, because you see the prospect of what you're generating. It's not in the partnership agreement anymore, so you may run off with it, as you could see with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and the likes. Now there are 5 beta stage approach. So this is again. So after failing, flying, there comes failing, and this is quite interesting. So the recognition that the partnership has a shelf life. And in many partnerships we see that. Particularly if you study the bigger multinationals, they're interesting because they've often been there a long time, and you can see how, like, particular departments get bought out, they buy companies, they get integrated, and kind of fall out again after a while when the technologies or capacities have been absorbed. It's another, the Vita stages model. Then with this you have this where the partnerships need to work through the stages of the life cycle in order to function with the greatest effectiveness. So when you're at the flight stage, then they can only be fail. In other words, so because you're on a high, so everything that doesn't kind of contribute to that, like acceleration, kind of perceived as failure. So even in the best partnerships, there's always a tendency for partnerships to falter and partnerships fail. But the key element is really like being aware of that, and then counter-produce again the elements so you are in the performance and fly stage. Unless the partners consciously manage their progress through the critical stages of the life cycle. So if you do that, then you can of course avoid that fail becomes something that is permanent. And fail could look like that. So people often don't know when a partnership has outgrown its usefulness. This can lead to partnership fatigue and partnership proliferation. I hope this will not happen to you when you work on the report or anything like that. This would be heartbreaking to me. Make sure that you're not aiming for fatigue. So partnerships are context specific, come in all shapes and sizes. So be aware of that. Sometimes there's where unfold out of a comfort zone. So you start small off, and suddenly you have like a lot of stakeholders and maybe even more partners. that maybe gets out of the comfort zone that you wanted to actually work in. And therefore, a model of successful partnership can only be a guide. No one solution fits all. So even if you have a very good concept, try to actually work it up. Now, there are different partnership models, particularly for this type of style that you are analyzing. So those are links. If you want comparison of examples, you can evaluate those. Yeah? So here we have local partnerships, partnership brokers, the Scottish government, the Oxfam, and International Institute for Sustainable Development that actually look a little bit at that, and they're very good web resources, yeah, for the report. Yeah, in a good evaluation, we might expect to see measurement of progress against funders' criteria, performance targets, as well measurement of progress against partnerships' own targets. Yeah? And the other ones that are normally in there is value for money, then discussion of the health of the partnership, how well does it work, and so forth. Well, partners work together, well, how well they really work together. Process indicators as well, involvement, accountability, and transparency. And then there's always a problem. Sometimes the evaluation tool can be overinflated, particularly in experienced partners. There's a problem with the nuts. No, it isn't. It's a problem, of course, with the evaluation tool. I hope you see that. Yeah, so please stick to the 3,000 words. Yeah, we make that to the case study remit. Yeah? That is more for the assessment. Now, the classic ones, generic tools, is the SWOT analysis. Yeah, so a very interesting one, combined maybe with a pestle. So in my previous company, we combined those. Yeah? And that is very powerful. Then you have a good tool. Balanced Scorecard is another one, very popular, particularly in the commercial area. And
Sorry, in what area, Rob?
Commercial?
Right.
Yeah. So PepsiCo, our executives like colorful dashboards, and then things would become red. Well, normally first yellow and then orange, and then you would have already phone calls regularly, and then if it becomes green again, maybe a lunch. It was often for other stuff. Like, oh, we have a new project. Do you want to work at the same time? Yeah, no. Yeah, so so it's interesting. Yeah, but those are like the tools if you want, and there's as well reasonable literature to it. So I've mapped it here out with different partnerships where they've used it. So this is actually public partnerships where they used it as well. Again, a few examples. I don't go into them because we are already out of time. And there's as well leadership versus trust, learning, and managing for performance. Again, it overlaps. You see, it's kind of always the same topics. Yeah, it's just different models that I've given you here. So I leave that for you to review. Just to give you the overview, we had the generic, the bespoke, with different model types that I've just zipped through very quickly, sadly. But I'm still revise it, and I have the notes below in the slides as well. But I have as well the literature at the end. Top-down approach and bottom-up, those are normally the tools. And yeah, this was just a summary. And here are the links as well to what I have used. Yeah, so it's a good literature to get a start point. Okay, but in the seminar I show you as well an example of a cool conceptual framework that you can use. Build your own, of course. The beer maker is so much more interesting. And but we record that too. Any questions? Okay, quite a run. So, sorry for that. Started a little bit too late.